Okay. Welcome to Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 meeting. Please silence your cell phones, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. Agendas and speaker request forms are located at the back of the chambers. So if somebody wants to speak, if you bring me a speaker request form, we'd appreciate that. So we're all here except for Ms. Hadcock. She is gone today for take care of some business. So we will start with a moment of silence from Commissioner Roskinick, sir, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And so we're going to review and approve the agenda. And I know we have a request to move some things around so we can get the sheriff back out in the field, Jordan. So if you give me what kind of changes we want to do, that we can move that into our agenda so we can get him out of here.
Absolutely. The agenda as submitted would need a quick adjustment to items. We're going to move section 9 and section 8.
Okay.
So that'll be 9A and 9B will be moved before items from the auditor so that the sheriff can go first. And the sheriff is requesting that at the onset we move to go into executive session pursuant to SDCL 125-26.
Okay.
That'll be for...
Okay.
Mr. Chair, that'll be my motion.
Yep.
That'll be my motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Roskinick, a second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We'll make those changes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
correction on that second, that was Durr.
Durr, I'm sorry. So Durr, I'm sorry about that. You guys sound the same down on that end over there. I think it's the light off the tops of your heads there that gets me confused. So we'll move to item number 6, a consent agenda. The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act. There's a duck in the room. I'm
Please
sorry
silence
about
all
that.
cell phones before...
Please silence cell phones. Now, would you think I'd pay attention to what I say? There we go. I'm sorry about that.
That's a quarter.
Okay. So the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of board member or citizen. The consent agenda contains the following items, A through J. So is there anybody in the audience that wants to remove anything from the consent agenda? Seeing none, okay, how about the commission? Anybody want to remove anything? Or if not, we can get a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Durr and a second by Drews to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, items from the public per SDCL 1-25-1. Speaker request form is required. Action will not be taken during this section on any issues brought forth. And speakers under this section will be recorded in the minutes and held to a 3-minute time limit. I don't have any speaker request forms. Does anybody in the public want to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 9, items from the sheriff. So, Mr. Mueller, if you come forward, I know you've had a long night, sir. We'll try to get you out of here.
Well, and I believe, did you want to go into executive session first? Okay, so yeah, if we could
I'm
get someone to
sorry.
make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to SDCL 125-26.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Drews, second by Roskinick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're moving to executive session. Thank you, and we'll be right back, people. Come on, executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. And Brian, you have the floor. We're on number 9, ahead of number 8, so.
switch over to this one. Oh, I hear it. All right, great. Good morning. Brian Mueller, Pennington County Sheriff, and I appreciate your time in shuffling some things around so we can get back involved in this hunt for this warrant subject this morning. We got a lot of resources out working on that for the last 5 days. The first item that I have up is just to give you an update. Scott Guffey and I came back, visited with the commission back in September about some shortfalls in funding from the federal government, specifically to some law enforcement items and some items in Scott's shop. And we talked about having a meeting with our congressional delegation in the local Forest Service reps, and they sent some reps from the region also. I thought we had a really good, productive meeting, and I just wanted to give an update. A lot of times we bring bad information or problems to you guys, but I like to, when we were able to come up with some solutions and get some good news, I like to bring that also. So as a result of that meeting, the Forest Service, a couple of weeks after the meeting, did find some additional funding for us to fully fund our law enforcement contract in the Forest Service at $35,000, which is an amount that it has not been for over 10 years here in Pennington County. So we're pretty happy to get that funding source figured out, and they're not guaranteeing the funding for 2027, but they likely feel like they have at least 2 years worth of that funding, and I feel like that's a pretty big win for us. It's going to let us work on some specific things we haven't been able to because of funding the last 2 years with UTV patrol out in western Pennington County. A lot of issues that we're having with the trails, with visitors coming in, tearing up the ground and driving unsafe. So we'll do some things on that, and then also some more pointed boat patrol on our lakes in the county. I'll let Scott talk about what advances he's found out in his area.
Yeah, so they found some infrastructure funding that they were able to apply for some noxious weed funding for next year or this coming season. So we got $80,000 through that, which will be a big bump from what we had last year. And then we were able to get another $20,000 from Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation through a PAC grant that we applied for. So I'll be able to basically triple my seasonal employees from last year from 1 to 3. So that should help a lot. And then I know Gary's been kind of updating the board on the Secure Drill School Act. That funding's been renewed or reauthorized, which will help because we both tap into that search and rescue, and then we use some on the ground fuels treatments with that. And then the other big thing is the Title II funding. That portion of that goes to the Forest Service, and then they have to establish a rack, and then you can put in for projects. Well, there's probably over $300,000 that's been sitting there. When that wasn't reauthorized, they couldn't touch that money. Now that's reauthorized, they can set up that rack and get that going so we can put in for projects to do on the ground. So we can do fuels funding and noxious weeds through that. So a little bit of a bright light there, but it's still a struggle to try to get some secured funding there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Ruskinek.
So Brian, the concessionaire that we had that ran the campgrounds in the Black Hills, I think for the last 20 years, was Forest Rec.
Yes.
And so now that we got a Explorer US coming in, have you made any contact with that person? Because I'm assuming you don't want to send a unit out for dog barking, so they understand why they want to call the sheriff and when they need to?
When they get their local leadership team established here, we will meet with them, but the Forest Service has already taken the lead on helping educate them on what are appropriate calls for us under the contract versus handling themselves as part of their contract and then also utilizing Forest Service law enforcement. We've gotten them engaged a lot more in the campground stuff the last couple of years, and that's something I hope to be able to continue to do. That we have other things to do without handling barking dog calls in the campgrounds and stuff at night, so that partnership's worked really well. We'll continue with that.
So would you keep me involved with that? Because I'm going to have to do the
barking
same.
Dog calls?
No, not the barking dog. But I'm going to have to, being a neighbor to the campground, I'm going to have to work with these folks too.
When we figure out exactly who they are and we get a meeting set up, we'll reach out.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ruskinek. Anyone else have anything to say? Thank you guys for that. I mean, Scott, I know how hard you're working. We were looking at a pretty glim picture there. Now things are really coming around. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So
Yep.
appreciate you guys. And then item B, Brian, the Sheriff, Brian. Perfect.
And then item B, this was something that I visited with the commission about quite a bit during the budget process last year. Was asked to bring this back this year, and this is the start of that process. Unless we want to be really ambitious today and just go ahead and do it, which I think would be awesome. But I provided some information in reference to our law enforcement wages to you in the letter, specifically talking through how far we've fallen behind our competitors with the Rapid City Police Department. I provided a funding sheet that shows starting wages for the different grades for us for deputies, sergeants, lieutenant, captain, and chief deputy, and then a comparison to the Rapid City Police Department, Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office, Lawrence County Sheriff's Office, South Dakota Highway Patrol, Box Elder Police Department, and the Division of Criminal Investigation of South Dakota, which they're not all competitors. Some are just regional area. I just wanted to give you a good snapshot as to who we're competing for staff with locally in the region and across the state of South Dakota, and where we stack up wage-wise. And talked through last year, the only staff we lost were to other agencies. A majority were pay-related, and I listed some of those in this letter too. We lost, we did have a couple people that got promotional opportunities in other agencies. That one's a little bit harder to compete with sometimes. When we hire and train good staff and have them on staff, they're going to get recruited into those slots. But what we're starting to see now, which we haven't seen historically, is we're starting to lose people that are applying for 2 or 3 different agencies and turning down conditional offers for us because our starting wage is lagging behind. And that becomes a real issue for us. So I talked through last year trying to figure out a strategy to be able to bring this in front of you. And what I hope to do before I brought this to you was figure out a way in the current budget to be able to find some cost savings to be able to pay for 100% of that. I haven't done that yet. We are working on some things, so I think we're going to be able to do that. But what I would propose is that you ask Jordan to work with me to redo the law enforcement wage scale to add 3% across the board for a cost of living on the wage scale. And Jordan can double check the numbers that I've come up with. We can bring something back to the commission for the next meeting for consideration on implementation in July of this year for the raise. The sheet that I handed you is something that Commissioner Hadcock asked for. On the top of that sheet just shows each one of those classifications for law enforcement, where they're at now starting, what that 3% increase would put us at, so you can look at the sheet that I provided with the other agencies and give comparisons. And then I actually, we picked out existing staff randomly in each one of those positions just so you can see what some of the real life scenarios of the raises. So you can see these are not significant raises, and when you look at the sheet for our competitors, it doesn't 100% fix the issue, but what it does is sends a strong message to our staff that we're committed to working on this to get us a little bit closer to parity with our competitors. And what I could tell you also is at this $134,000, we spent a lot more than that with the 6 people that we lost last year and what it costs us for the turnover for those positions, and having to take close to 9 months to train a deputy sheriff. And when we lose these deputies to other agencies for higher pay that have worked for us for 2, 3, 4 years, it takes a long time to get that experience back. So I just wanted to bring this in today. If somebody wanted to be bold enough to make a motion to approve this, I think that would be great. If we want to work towards getting some more information and getting more comfortable with the numbers, I'm certainly willing to work with Jordan to come back to the next meeting.
I think at this point, probably,
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve it. I think you got to be competitive, and I think Brian right now, with the predicament that they're going through out there by Sheridan Lake's, just a good example that you want to make sure that you get good folks out there working for you. And so I'll go ahead and support that motion.
Mr. Chair,
yes,
this is listed on the agenda as informational only.
right. Yeah.
And in the sheriff's letter, he's just, kind of indicating, it's a talking point. And so I'm not ready to make a motion on it myself and move forward on this. And, I have further comments, but I'll wait and see if anybody wants to second.
Well, motion dies with a lack of a second, so I think I agree, the tendency to agree. I think I would prefer, because I'd like to get the sheriff out of here, that we funneled our questions through the commission office to Brian, so we could all have access to those questions, because I, right off the top of my head, have some, but I don't want to sit here and go back and forth about them. I think that it gives everybody an opportunity to thoroughly vet their questions, and so when we have this conversation to make a decision, that we have all those questions funneled through the commission office, and then Brian has an opportunity to get back on his feet and answer them. He's had a late night, so it's up to you guys, but Brian, are you good with that?
I'm happy to answer questions here today, have a discussion.
But if
Yeah,
you-
Mr. Chair, I've got
Go
a
ahead,
couple
Commissioner
comments.
Drew, you go ahead then.
So the one thing that I want to note is that, for fiscal year 2026, that we did give the employees a 4.4% pay increase. And so we gave a 2.9% COLA, and we gave a step increase, which I think on average is about 1.5, depending on the different scale. And so when we, and also when we gave that, pay increase across the board to the county employees, we went into some of the major departments, the major employers in the county, with the most employees, highway department, your public safety divisions. And we looked at the fill rate, kind of like the last 5 years, we were looking at that average and saying that based on that, we felt that some of the departments were over budgeted in personnel. And so to be able to come up with the cost of a 4.4% pay increase across the board, we went into those major departments and we cut back, I believe it was 4%. And so then we just cut 4% off the top and said, manage your personnel, because we did not put in all the anomalies for out of class pay and all of the other things that go with it. We did put in, I believe, an overtime factor. Jordan?
We did.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and this is kind of a talking point, and this is not really reflective on whether or not they get a raise or they don't get a raise. But just generally, when I hear departments say, and I've heard it, we're looking at ways to absorb 134,000, and then the first thing that clicks into my head is, well, that's 134,000 the taxpayers would like to have back. And so I do believe that there is an underpayment in law enforcement, and I do believe, and I've talked about it even last year during the budget process, that we need to look at that. But I'm more attuned now as we go through the budget year that we look at that for fiscal year 2027, and that's kind of going to be my position on this, that we don't look at supplementing the budget right now and changing, because for 6 months it's 134,000, for a year it's $250,000. And then compounding, what does that look like? And so I would like to see, not only with you providing the information to Jordan, but the HR office, getting involved and coming back, and, we take a look at this. If we could look at the financials and figure out a way that, we could make this work without impacting or supplementing the budget, that's one discussion point. But in the 2025 budget, there was a motion made at the end of the year in November, I believe, that supplemented the 2025 budget by $14 million. And this is the stuff that I'm just kind of a fiscal hawk on, that I don't think that we should just continually come forward and say that we've approved a budget, but let's add to the budget. We've approved a budget, let's add to the budget. And in some of those certain situations, I can see the relevance for that, but this is something that I would want the HR office and the commission office to, work with the sheriff's office and come forward and then have a conversation about the financing aspect of it.
Any other comments on that?
Nope.
I would agree that we have narrowed our budget down. We're still in the red from previous periods, so we're trying to work to get in the black in a position. So having the conversation doesn't mean we can't have the conversation, so. But looking forward and seeing where we can stay competitive, obviously makes sense, so, but we need to do it
If I could just respond
Sure, if you
briefly.
have the floor.
I think that's great, and that was my intention to bring this forward today, to start working on it versus bring an entire process forward, ask you to make a motion without the ability to ask those other questions and get a comfort level. But when I come back the next time, I will continue to work with Jordan on the numbers. When I come back the next time, I'm going to talk through some strategies and I did not use the word absorb.
Don't use the word
I am
absorb.
gonna work through some strategies, some long-term cost-saving strategies that are gonna make this make sense, and I'll bring that back at the next
We
meeting.
appreciate that. So Brian, we're going to excuse you. I see no more questions, and thank you, and our prayers are with you. I mean, I know that seems cliche, but we honestly are concerned about the safety of you and your people and everybody involved in this. It is a very serious situation, so we appreciate it, and they need you there, so
Thank you, appreciate it.
bye. All right, we'll move on to item number 8. So we're going back in time, like the hot tub time machine. So we're going to number 8. Let me see here.
Good morning, Sabrina
Morning.
Green, Pennington County Auditor. I have before you a new liquor license for Timber Haven, a retail on and off sale wine and cider, and a retail on and off sale malt beverage license.
Thank you. Oh, so these are brand new, okay.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions for the auditor on these items? Or do we get a motion on the floor here? You need us to approve these or something, Sabrina?
Yep. Yes.
Well, to take the time and thank you for the last election. Things went well smooth. I didn't have anybody call me up and threaten me. I think you prepared as hard as you could for that, to keep that from happening. So we appreciate that hard work that,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the new license for retail on-off sale wine and cider license and retail on-off sale malt beverage license for Pine Rest Cabins LLC.
Second.
We have a motion from Durham, a second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B.
And this is just a renewal for Black Hills Helicopters.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
I would move to approve the renewal of the following retail on-off sale wine and cider license and release licenses upon payment of appropriate property taxes.
Second?
We have a motion from Drews, a second by Ross Connect. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Item C.
And this one's for the New Underwood Roping Club that was continued to this meeting. And today we do have the applicant here to speak on behalf of it because of the significant issues with Planning and Zoning Department.
Oh, there's some issues? Okay. I didn't know about any issues. Commissioner Durr, did you know of any issues?
I know of a lot of issues, but not this one.
Well, this is where you hang out, the roping club, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dane, do you want to come up?
Well, that's why we got issues.
Yeah.
So, okay. Go ahead,
Dane
Dane.
Boomsma, and I'm the vice president of the New Underwood Roping Club. We took this on last year with full intentions of getting it up and running. We have the building permit in place. We have all of the materials on site. The building is not up, and that's the significant issues, as well as there's some timing that we talked with the state's attorney's office about. It sounds like we have until April 14th to get the structure up, which we will make happen. We're prepared. We're coming into springtime, and it is a volunteer organization, nonprofit, so it just took us a little longer to get all the pieces put together, but we understand from the attorney's office, we have till April 14th to get the building up, and then we should be hunky-dory. So we're committed to doing that.
So you have a license now,
We do.
and part of the problem of not getting it approved is no building or whatever?
Correct.
But you just don't want to lose the license.
Yeah. Because
Here comes
once-
our man right here,
yeah,
Tyler.
Once issued, you
Tell
have to
us
utilize
what's happening,
it.
Tyler.
Tyler Sobzak, State's Attorney's Office. Yeah, so just a little bit of a timeline for you guys. So I believe it was sometime in mid-October 2024, they received conditional approval for their liquor license. And essentially that conditional approval is for a year. Because there was some zoning and stuff, I forget if it was replatting or rezoning or whatever it was, the county failed to get this in front of you within that first year. Except for that, that's totally fine because for what I'm about to tell you. So the county is able to extend an additional 6 months for conditional approval upon a finding that delay is not fault of the applicant. I was speaking with the roping club people before this, and they said something along the lines of that, this is a charitable organization that relies on donations to get their materials and hard labor to essentially construct the structure which is needed before the permit can actually be given to them. So I think that there could be a finding of delay not being the fault of the applicant. What is most pertinent for you guys right now, from my purview, is that we need the structure by April 14th, because the deadline for them, the year and a half, is April 15th. So by our own ordinance, we can't hold that liquor license for more than a year and a half. So the most that you could move to do today is to extend their license until April 15th. And I think from talking with the representatives that there would be a finding that there hasn't been a delay due to the fault of the applicant. So any of you have any questions about that?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek?
So when you say building, can you be a little more specific?
Yeah.
Is this something, I don't know what that's going to look like when it's finished, but in worst case scenario, could they put something temporary there and at least
No, we would need a more permanent structure. The zoning ordinance definition of structure is pretty broad, but from my understanding with talking with Brittany, is essentially if we have, the bones of the building, that would be enough to satisfy that definition of structure.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Got about 2 months for them to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the renewal of the following retail on-sale liquor licenses with Sunday sales and release licenses upon payment of appropriate property taxes, and the extension until April 15th of 2026 for New Underwood Roping Club, 205 North A Avenue, New Underwood.
Second.
I have a motion by Durham, a second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tyler and Dane. Okay, we're going to move past 9. We handled 9. We're going to planning board of adjustments. So 9. We're right on time. Unbelievable. So
Shucky
we need to move to the convene as the board of adjustments.
So move.
Second.
A motion from Durham, a second by Roskinek to convene as the board of adjustments. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to item A. Cody, you have the floor, sir.
Okay. Cody Sack, Senior Planner. Item A is variance COVA 25-0022. It's to reduce the setback for a telecommunications tower to a dwelling unit. The applicant is the Towers LLC. Location of the property is 13599 Highway 40. Staff is going to recommend to continue variance COVA 25-0022 to the March 3rd Board of Adjustment meeting. Due to the fact that the applicants didn't send their required notice letters.
Oh, so you're going to move it to March instead of April?
Yeah, so I
Instead
put
of
February 18th on there, but I forgot that they have to re-advertise, since they did not send their letters, they have to re-advertise in the paper, so they wouldn't meet that advertisement
So what
date.
date was that again, Cody?
March 3rd.
So we have a
Mr. Chair,
motion.
I'd make that motion to March 3rd.
Second.
We have a motion from Drews, second by Durr, to move to March 3rd. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Item B.
Item B is variance COVA 25-0020. It's to reduce the setback to property lines for a telecommunications tower. It's the same property, same landowner. Staff is going to recommend to continue variance COVA 25-001, 20 to the March 3rd, 2026 Board of Adjustment meeting, so the items can be heard at the same time. So
That'd be my motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion from Drews,
Second.
second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item C, Miss Brittany.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Hand, Planning Director. Item C is variance COVA 25-0023. It's to reduce the setback for a parking lot along a right-of-way on Lodi Lane. The applicant is Meadow Valley LLC. The agent is TUI Design Group. This is for the sheriff's station property along Lodi Lane. The reason for this variance is that they are requiring parking spaces within the 25-foot setback. Staff has worked or spoken with the highway department. There is adequate site distance, so there is not concern if you can see the parking spaces because the number of, excuse me, The number of offices within there, they require 8 parking places. So they would have needed a variance either way, whether they would, for the number of spaces or for the location of the spaces. Staff felt it was better that they have adequate parking. And there is adequate right-of-way and site distance along there to see. Can you, Jordan, put this one up?
You bet.
So are they aware that you're recommending denial here? Has that changed what they're doing?
We recommend denial if there's no special condition that exists, but it gives the board the purview to recommend approval. If the board does recommend approval, we don't, we're not including any conditions.
So, Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
I'd
Drews?
move approval of COVA 25-0024, the variance.
Second.
A motion and second to approve. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Well, opposed, say no. Motion carries, I'm sorry. I forget that part of it. So we'll move on to D.
Item D is variant COVA 25-0024 to reduce the setback for a parking lot or along the right-of-way. This is along Anderson Road. This is the same applicant, Meadow Valley LLC. This is for the sheriff's station. It's just to reduce the setbacks for the parking lots along Anderson Road because it abuts and is adjacent to a residential district. Again, there's no special condition that exists, so staff is recommending denial, but if the board chooses to approve the variance, we don't have any conditions to add.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Drews?
question.
Sure.
Did I make the wrong motion? Did I use the wrong number on the first one?
23, I think it should have been.
That should have been 23, and I had 24.
So do
We
just
approved 24.
Yeah,
So
which
we
is what we're
approve
discussing right now.
24?
That's what we're,
Okay. Oh, we read the wrong number, okay. So do you want to go back and make a
But we need
motion?
to adjust that.
Okay. Or do you want, how would we adjust that? We just, I guess we could reconsider that?
Or we just go now and approve 23.
Okay, there you go.
Which I would move that, which would be
Okay.
COVA 25-0023.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. A motion from Drews, second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. So we'll move on to item E. So we kind of did that in backwards order there, guys. Did you catch that, Kenner? Thank you, sir. You're on it today. You must have had coffee this morning. Appreciate that. All right, item E, thank you. You have the floor.
Christine Phillip, Assistant Planner. Variance COVA 26-0001 is to reduce the rear yard setback for an existing garage on the subject property. The applicant owner, Stephanie Nesselhoff, is here in the audience if you have any questions for her. The property is at 15555 East Highway 44. The property, or this was routed for interdepartmental review, and the property does have a violation for no building permit. There were no other objections. The property did have this violation opened August of '24. The property owner did have a survey done. The garage did not quite meet the 25-foot setback, but based on the site plan that we originally had, we would have actually probably just approved it because without having the new survey done, the old site plan showed that the old barn structures were actually in the right place. So we are recommending approval of this variance with 2 conditions, and the applicant will pay any associated fees with the building permit at this time. You have any questions for me?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
So my question is, how would that have happened? I mean, did it just slip through the cracks? when that
So
was-
sometimes when these, back in the day, they're more eloquently described. And also it's big farm property, agriculture district around it. There was a fence line. So when it was built, it probably wasn't even surveyed. It was just taken off that fence line.
Taken off
measured
the
at
fence line,
25
okay.
feet.
Okay.
I've done that before. Took it off the fence line. Oh, man. That's trouble. But 25 foot in a large area is nonsensical to me, but anyway. But I have a question for Stephanie, but you don't have to come up here. I just want to see how you've been. I haven't seen you for a while. So seems like your career's going well, so. All right, do we have a motion on the floor here?
I'll make a motion to approve with the noted conditions.
Second.
We have a motion from Durr, second by Drews for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Stephanie, have a good day. F. Cody, you're back.
Yes. Cody Sack, Senior Planner. Item F is variance COVA 26-0002. It's to reduce the required setback for a property line. The applicant and landowner is Randall and Mary Doffenbaugh. The agent is Davis Engineering. Location of the property is 10755 Sharon Lake Road. Staff is actually going to recommend to withdraw variance COVA 26-0002 and refund the applicant the application fee. As there's a section in our zoning ordinance for legal non-conforming, when they add on to that section, their structure, because they already have a residence on the house, when they increase that, when they add on and enlarge that house and increase that setback, they lose that non-conforming on the structure for the house. So the only way to keep both houses is to actually plat that house off. So a variance wouldn't help them get what they want. They are going to have to plat.
And they're aware of that, Cody?
I've emailed that to Ron Davis. He was supposed to have a meeting with Brittany and Jason and Commissioner Rosknecht, but I do not believe he
Never showed.
came to that meeting.
Commissioner, I'm going to give Commissioner Rosknecht the floor here.
Yeah, he called me and asked if he could meet with me, and I set a time, the planning and zoning office, and we had another landowner that come in. And at 11:30, we waited. I told Ron I could meet him at 11:30, and 15 minutes later, he wasn't there, so I just went ahead and went on to my other business, so he had an opportunity to speak to me anyhow.
That's all I need to know. We got a motion on the floor?
So the motion is to withdraw?
The motion is to withdraw, and then we'll refund him his application fee, because that should have been caught before he applied for the variance. So he'll be refunded that.
I'd make that as my motion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out one more thing. That doesn't mean they can't do what they want to do. They just can't sit there and do it the way they're trying to do it.
Correct. They'd have to plat, and some of this came about when we have these items. We discuss them at what we call the DIRT meeting. It's a review of all the items. Another staff member in our office had talked to Mr. Doffenbaugh and said that he'd have to plat because he would lose his legal non-conforming status for that second residence. I was unaware of that at the time when we took this application in for the appeal. He appealed the not taking in the variance to the board, and then when we took this in, but then when we discussed it, so the applicant and the landowner were aware that they would have to plat. I believe they just thought being able to plat or being able to get the variance would get around the platting process, but they are going to have to plat if they want to enlarge that house.
Does that help you, Commissioner Rosknecht?
Correct. Yeah, I understand that. What's got to happen here.
So we had a motion, but do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Drews, a second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries to withdraw. So G, subdivision variance. Phyllis Cole, trustee. Cody, you have the floor, sir.
So item G is subdivision regulation variance CO SV 25-007. It's to waive ordinance 14 road standards. The applicant is Phyllis Cole Trust. I do believe that Julie Cole is on Zoom. If there are any questions, she's an agent.
Yeah, I think somebody was going to be on Zoom.
Yep.
Is that the correct one?
I believe so.
There we are.
She's on there, yep.
Hey, Jody.
The surveyor is Martin Cost. Location of the property is 19950 Reno Gulch Road. Current zoning is agriculture district. Access is off of Reno Gulch Road, and there is no special flood hazard area on the property. When staff looks at variances, we take a two-pronged approach. For prong one, whether granting a variance would run counter to public interest. It doesn't appear that granting the variance would run counter to public interest, as it's a private access easement for the same landowner. However, prong two is whether a special condition exists to grant a variance. It doesn't appear that a special condition exists that would prevent the applicant from constructing the road to ordinance 14 standards. So as you see on the screen, This is the lot in question. This is the road. This is the existing access. What they're doing, if you remember this picture, they're platting that off. So the green lot that you see on there will encompass that entire road, and they're using that as an access easement. Ordinance 14 for 2 lots says that it has to be a 20-foot wide road for agriculture district. It's 8 to 10 feet. So they're just waiving the requirement not to construct the road to that 20 foot. Approval of this request would allow the platting process to continue. And with that, staff is recommending denial of subdivision regulation variance COSV 25-0007 as no special condition exists on the property. However, if the Board of Adjustment disagrees and approves the request, staff doesn't have any conditions to be added.
Phyllis, can you hear me? Can you hear now, Phyllis? We can't hear you. You might have us muted, Phyllis.
Her mic is muted.
Yeah, your mic is muted. We can have Commissioner Roskinick read your lips. I'm gonna let Commissioner Roskinick chime in
I
here.
got a couple questions.
Go
Cody.
ahead.
Could you put the rapid map? Well, number one, we'll go back to this, but let's go to the rapid map. I'm not trying to be critical, but access is not off of Reno Gulch. Access to this property is off of Track B. Track B is accessed off of Reno Gulch.
Yeah.
Because technically I could say access is off of Highway 16 via Reno Gulch. So the legal access is off of Track B. And I'm assuming you've addressed, there is a legal, and I think if you go back to the plat and blow it up, you'll see there's an H lot there. And I think it was, when I read this, I can understand it. I don't know if the rest of the commission understood what was going on. And also in your report, you say, if you go to your report, you say access is off of Medicine Mountain Road.
Yeah, so that was a typo in that report, but it is off.
Okay,
Reno Gulch
so
Road.
also you point out in your interdepartmental review that it's a 40-foot easement, and if you go to the plat, it's a 50-foot easement. So I was really having problems. So I would suggest in the future that you always put a telephone number. Now, I eventually got a telephone number, but not on the stuff that I was looking at home when I was trying to figure this out, that we have access to the owner and we have access to the surveyor. Another question, who inspected the property and when did they inspect the property?
TJ was out there last week to actually inspect some stuff for their septic system, but there is no reason that a road can be constructed or widened. I'm just here to enforce the rules that the Board of Commissioners set. If the Board of Commissioners think that a road can't be built there or that an exception needs to be done, that's why we're here.
No, I'm just, I think some photos would have helped me, and then an explanation, who took the photos? If it's 8 to 10 feet, did somebody actually measure it? Rapid map, it looks like it's more like 12 foot. Anyhow, I did get a hold of the surveyor, and he said it would, in his opinion, it's more 12 foot. But the point is that right now you got one house, they subdivided that, you're going to have 2 homes. I believe that their relatives right now, the situation is that they just, the gate's locked because it's a summer home. And then if you go north of the proposed lot, you have to go 3 or 4 miles before you come to the nearest. It's all U.S. Forest Service, so you're never going to see expansion of that going north. So personally, I support the request for the variance.
Thank you. And then
I think it'd be a hardship to.
Right, Commissioner Roskin, and Cody, I'm just going to chime in here on one thing, but the information to be, I know that what your job is. We all know what your job is, and that is to, look and enforce the material that we put forward, the ordinances and rules. But we do need correct information, so that's important. I think that Commissioner Rodknecht was pointing that out. So, do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Roskinick and a second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. We'll move on to item H. Are you good with that? We couldn't get you in there, so.
No.
Okay,
Phyllis? You okay?
yes.
Okay. You have a great day. Are we done with
Thank
her? We can take her off Zoom now? Okay, thanks. Goodbye, Phyllis. We gotta get rid of that reflection on our left side, but item H.
Item H is the appeal of the planning director's decision for Dan Lundin. This was continued from the January 20th Board of Adjustment meeting. So the Board of Commissioners or Board of Adjustment could do a site visit and see the site. I do believe that some commissioners had gone out there to see the site. So this would just be what decision the Board of Adjustment
Do we
would
need to
make.
convene out of the Board of Adjustments then, it says on here?
No, so since this is an appeal, it would be still under the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you, Cody, appreciate that. So do we have a motion on this item?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinick, sir?
I provided my findings, and so, as I said, I support that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to support the variance request for the appeal.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Roskinick, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Now we have to move to adjourn as the Board of Adjustment and reconvene as the Board of Commissioners.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Drews, second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Cody. Items from the Highway Department, Mr. Joe. Mr. Joe, I was sorry to bug you over the weekend. I just needed to get some information out of you.
Good morning. Yeah, it is morning. Good morning. Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway Department. Up in front of you here is another first reading of our ordinance 11, installation and excavation within the right-of-way. I guess I will just stand for any questions, as I believe we've got all the kinks worked out with our co-ops and our utility companies in the area. And we've got a clean version in front of you with all their requested changes, so I will stand for any questions.
I don't see any of them here today, so I'm assuming I know you worked extra hard to figure out what their needs were to make that work for everybody, and I appreciate that, Joe.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Drews?
So Joe, I saw the comments by Black Hills Energy. So their concerns have been incorporated into this at this point?
Not all of them, but the major sticking points for them have been resolved. And I believe in the future, they're probably likely going to come in front of you guys and request a franchise agreement, much like the co-ops, I believe. So they're exempt, just like the co-ops. Was the conversation that we had when we met with them. So I believe that you'll be seeing that in the future.
Okay. We can accommodate their needs. I'm sorry.
No, that's...
Yeah. We met with them, and Joe didn't quite understand what they were talking about. We came to a conclusion, and I think that's when he changed it, so that's why it got continued.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, so when you said met with them, can you just mention who all those were?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Black Hills Energy, and then
So we met with Black Hills Energy separately, and then we met with the Black Hills Electric Co-op and West River Electric Co-op. The two co-ops we met with, Mr. Weifenbach, Tyler was there. They're both, I believe their attorneys were there, and their CEOs of both of the companies were in attendance at that meeting. And it was about a 2-hour-long meeting, and we got everything kind of hashed out as to what the sticking points were for them. And I believe their franchise agreement spells out their contract with the county, which basically states that they must get a permit and follow all the permitting requirements, but they're exempt from the fees. So
what we didn't want to do, Commissioner Roskinick, is put each contractor on the hook. We wanted to put the general contractor on the hook.
Right, and that's kind of where I was.
Perfect. Okay.
And that makes sense to me.
That makes sense. Okay.
Thank you for working with those folks,
That
Joe.
was the ultimate thing, because they were like, we're in charge here, and we'll take care of our problems or our issues.
Yeah, I just didn't want to duplicate.
No, I'm sorry. I'm glad you asked to spell that out. So we have a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Durr.
motion to approve the first reading of Ordinance 11 Amendment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. B, Bridge Reinspection Program Resolution.
This is an item that comes up in front of you guys every year. The state has a program through the federal government that provides dollars to the state, and then the state divvies that out to the counties to do bridge inspections. This is one of the few mandates that I think that the federal government passes down that they actually provide some funding for. So each year the state sends out a resolution. We have to do this resolution in order to apply for them to give us this funding. We've selected KLJ since I've been here, 2019. Before that, Bros did our inspections for several years. We've been very happy with Sean Mayfield with KLJ. That's the principal engineer that does most of our bridge inspections. They do our design work. He's helped us to get a good plan together. We've taken our bridge sufficiency rating, our average sufficiency rating, up considerably since he's come on board. We got a lot of stuff done through them. Our average cost for the bridge inspections to the county is about $20,000 a year. So 2024 it was $18,900. 25 so far. What we've been billed, there's still a couple out there outstanding. That number is $23,980 so far for 2025. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Yeah, Joe, I'm going to stop you for one. You said each bridge is 23,000?
No.
Okay.
Total.
Okay, that's what
we've got 127 bridges on inventory. We do about half and half. There's some of those bridges that are on a more frequent basis that we have to do every year, so it kind of makes it lopsided in our odd years.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Do we need a motion on this item? Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner
I'm
Durr.
going to make a motion to approve the 2026 Bridge Reinspection Program Resolution.
Second.
I have a motion from Durr, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
Commissioner
have a
Durr.
question on the previous item, on the
Yep.
first reading. Does that require a second reading?
Yes, it does.
Okay. It's a point of order for Jordan then. In the motion, should we have another motion that sets the second reading?
If we had a date already advertised. that
Should
would
be at the next meeting.
All right.
Yeah,
I think what
I would.
Yeah, I think what we should have under those, when we have a first reading and then we approve it, we should have a motion to set the date for the second reading.
That would be good to make the public aware. You're probably right there, so.
And so that date is what?
17th, right?
Yeah.
You want to make a motion?
I'm going to
Joe?
make a motion to set the second reading of ordinance number 11, amendment to February 17th.
Second.
We have a motion from Durr, second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Joe.
Thank you, sir.
What's that
Thank
date
you,
for
Commissioner.
extension?
Pardon?
Was there a date there?
Yeah,
17th.
17th, our next commission.
Okay.
Now we're going into items from Human Services.
Good morning, Barry Tice, the Director of Pennington County Human Services in the Veteran Service Office. And in front of you is permission to apply for another grant through the John T. Vukurvich Foundation. As I explained in the memo, they have been great partners for really decades. And for this grant proposal, they are suggesting $300,000 over 2 years to help us with the items I outlined, primarily rent, utilities, deposits, things that we can leverage county funds with, but this becomes helpful, especially with the increases in rent that we see coming through, and really our office, how busy it's been over the past 2.5, 3 months. And so this helps offset some of that. We rely less on taxpayer dollars and more on the goodwill of the John T. Vukurvich Foundation to be our partners.
Any questions from the commission? No. Commissioner Drews? you have the
I
floor.
would make the motion to authorize staff to submit a grant application to the John T. Vukurvich Foundation.
Second.
A motion from Drews, second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Barry, thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you to the John Vukurvich Foundation. They make life a lot less complicated for a lot of people by allowing that money to be available for them for deposits and that type of stuff. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner
I
Durr.
just got a comment, like, a couple of weeks ago, I reached out to, your office and had a veteran that was in a situation that needed some assistance, and through these funds, we were able to stop an eviction and catch them up to the tune of $3,200, and they worked that with the landlord. So, and the other thing about this then is it's not a lienable deal because we're using these dollars, and so it's not, some of the other funds that we give out as a county are lienable and tied to a repayment process. And so anyway, it's just a great thing. So appreciate the work that your staff does.
I appreciate you
You
making
really
that
stretch the
comment.
dollar. That's what we are excited about.
We're lucky. We have really good staff. They're compassionate and caring, but they also know
They know where to draw the line.
Yep. Yeah, and help folks come up with long-term solutions. So thank you for that comment, Commissioner. Durr.
Great story, Commissioner Durr.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 13, items from Commission Office. Jordan, you have the floor, sir.
All right, so the first item up here, 13A, is the Board of Commissioners Bylaws and Rules of Procedure Annual Review. This one was discussed back in January, and we continued it to the first meeting in February so that we could take action on it. I can re-go through all of the updates that I had proposed if you guys need to hear it. I did not hear from any individual commissioners on the bylaws specifically. There were some comments on the Code of Conduct, and they do need to be they need to happen simultaneously, because if we approve one and not the other, we may have gaps in Code of Conduct stuff that was in the bylaws that then moves to the new Code of Conduct. And so we may need to consider some of the Code of Conduct updates before we decide whether or not the board should update this. And I may ask if Commissioner Durr had some comments he wanted to make on the Code of Conduct.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've looked at it a little bit, and the Code of Conduct's always kind of a sketchy area because it puts people in peculiar situations, and we are all elected officials, so in the end of the day, our ultimate judge comes from the elected officials. That'd be my opinion. And Commissioner Durr?
Yeah, so this started off a year ago as a review of, kind of our bylaws and changing it from bylaws to kind of a procedural operation because, we are elected officials and we're operating off, South Dakota law and the Constitution. So we looked at the Code of Conduct and some of these operational procedures a year ago, sent those to outside legal for review. Outside legal was Lisa Marceau, that represents the risk pool that we're part of. And then going back, and then we had Megan, prior to her departure from the state's attorney's office, look at this, and her notes then went to Jordan, I believe, in October. Yes. And then we've looked at that. And so I did have a couple of questions for Jordan to make sure that we were still kind of true to, after all the changes going through here, that we were still kind of true to what came from, Lisa Marceau on some of the recommendations we actually as a board discussed with her. And so after looking at it, I'm okay with the rules of procedure, and the one change I would make on the Code of Conduct, which was a recommendation from Lisa Marceau, is that it only applies to the elected officials, not to the employees of the organization.
Yeah, that was a change that I missed in the Code of Conduct, is that was a recommended change from Lisa Marceau, that it does not apply to appointed department heads because they're covered already under our employee handbook. And so this only applies to the elected officials, the commissioners, and any committees, appointed boards, and everything like that, just as Code of Conduct in public meetings and stuff like that.
And as a follow-up to that, I think that it's a little bit different, but I think, we have an employee handbook, we're elected officials, but I also believe that we should have like an abbreviated kind of handbook for, our appointed boards. And so, for example, Weed and Pest Board, they are employees of the county, but, they're not falling under all the other handbook procedures, and narrow one down that would fit them and the planning board, who are also employees of the county. And so just kind of have a slim operational procedure for those appointed boards, but this policy would just apply to elected officials.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner.
Yeah, I like the rewrite that I read. I didn't pick up on the fact that was missing on the elected officials. So with that adjustment, I certainly support what's been presented to us.
I'm good. I just want to make sure that I didn't review the procedure at the end where, if like, say there's an issue with the code of conduct, I want somehow to leave, like, have an ability that we know what we're doing, like a third party or somebody comes in and says, hey.
Okay, so I'll speak to that a little bit here because this is something that I was trying to balance with the comments made by Lisa Marceau that she was working with our state's attorney's office, is that if you decide to start to put in a firm process,
Basically what I'd
you
like to
really
see.
need to spell it out all the way. And so instead, we're giving you guys leeway, and then it's administratively our responsibility to document how we resolve these things. It's up to the board in how they want to handle them, because some complaints may come to the board, and after initial review and investigation, you go, this doesn't even warrant action. But you still document the fact that you received a complaint and you're kind of working
I
through
like that. It's kind of like the thing we've been talking about with all the animals and pets and stuff. If I got 2 horses and my place is, say I got 4 horses, which we only allow 2 or whatever, but my area looks clean, we're beating those people up, so you need some flexibility.
Right.
So that's, you're saying that flexibility is built into this,
That's what we're given right now, is that the board can, at its discretion, utilize any of a number of different means to resolve any of the code of conduct violation accusations. And so it doesn't always have to go to a formal tribunal. It doesn't always warrant an immediate investigation, a detailed third-party investigation.
But how about
could be.
if it does go, then if it goes to a point where the commission decides, they'd still have the opportunity to decide either
Yes.
way, or
Yep.
there's a
Correct.
automatic?
Yep,
Okay.
they would decide. It would be the board's decision as to how they want to
And I
handle it.
believe, Mr. Chair, what Marcia was trying to do is just set it up to say that, let us handle it, because there's a lot of frivolous stuff that may come forward,
Right.
and then we're able to just dismiss that without getting into a full-blown
'cause
investigation.
I've been in on several of them over the years, and there's never a good outcome on them, because in the end, the people will hold us accountable, hopefully, and say, we want you. But if something's egregious, then, like we had a guy get a 3rd DUI one time, and it's like, you can't do that, so, all right, I'm good.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a motion to approve the rules of procedures as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Durr, second by by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Sometimes my brain gets in front of what I'm saying. I appreciate that. So, update reports from.
We need,
Now we need this,
The other motion.
13B, yep. So for the code of conduct,
13B.
and there will be a change to that. We will remove the language for
And-
appointed.
Thank you.
so it's just going to be, go ahead.
No, you.
All right, I'm trying to find my motion here. Motion is a rules of procedure one,
It's the code of conduct,
code of conduct.
although it's showing the same language as the
It is.
rules of procedure. That's interesting.
So it's copied the same motion over. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the code of conduct as amended to only apply to elected officials.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion from Durr and a second from Drews and Roskinick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on. Item C, legislative session, Commissioner Drews. You're going to give us something here.
Well, we can talk about specific bills if you want to, but, the session moved to the point now where individual legislators, their deadline was for introduction last week. That was completed. So we do have a lot of bills in the hopper. There's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot of committee actions and so forth, but there's not a lot of bills that are coming up for final approval and so forth. I would mention that Joe Miller has done a good job on legislation relative to that would impact not only highway department, but also impact some dollars for the county. One of the early bills that was killed would have exempted trailers under 3,000 pounds, which would have had an impact annually of somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 to the county in loss of revenue for it. So that bill was sent to the 41st day, which essentially kills that bill. The property tax bills are starting to get whittled down to, some of them are being basically discussed and killed in committee. So it's still going to take a while before we get down to the final 2 or 3 bills that are going to receive some serious consideration. The governor's bill is still very active in that. I visited with the governor on it last night briefly, and you know, he's very confident that they're going to be able to pull that through with providing some sales tax dollars to replace property tax dollars in the growth counties. And there's 5 or 6 of us that are growth counties in the state, we being one of those. So it'd probably be something that I think our taxpayers would look at very favorable. But, and then over on the eastern part of the state, when you look at Minnehaha County, down to the Yankton area, that's also the area that would be fairly effective in, so.
And I appreciate that part, Gary, too, because one of the things that people don't understand is Rapid City and Sioux Falls, these growing areas are contribute to the state at a higher level. So in a lot of these rural areas that have low property taxes in comparison with, I'm sure that the people that live in those areas don't think they're low, but they're low in comparison to what people inside the city pay. Those funds can go to the state aid formula to help pay for school districts and that type of stuff, what helps keep their property taxes lower. So if we can generate sales tax in our community from an outside entity or whatever it may be, the people that come for the stock show per se, or whatever that case may be, those sales tax dollars are not just set in the Rapid City. They go to the state at a level of 4% plus whatever, you know, and some of that gets distributed to all these smaller communities. So that's a great idea. I think that plan makes the most sense to try. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's at least a step in the right direction. So yeah, appreciate that update, Gary.
There's a lot of activity, discussion at this point in time relative to data centers. There's a lot of pro, a lot of con relative to that. Just looking out, you don't see a net here. Kevin Carley has been working on legislation that was introduced that would provide 911 dispatchers to fit into the Class B rather than the Class A for retirement system. And that bill, as of yesterday in committee, the South Dakota Retirement System asked to table that bill for a short period of time while they take a serious look at it. And there would be some cost associated with that. In my own personal opinion, I've always felt that the 911 dispatchers belonged in the Class B, just like all other law enforcement. So I think this is going to really come to a head this year, where they're going to be able to make some final determination on that. So,
Commissioner Drews, I'm going to interrupt you because Commissioner Rosknecht had something to say.
Okay.
Yeah, Gary, the half-cent sales tax that the governor's proposing is at the discretion of each one of the 66 counties. And some folks I think they're a little misled thinking that sales tax could possibly just go into our general funds, where that sales tax would go into a separate fund exclusively for property tax relief. And I think focusing on owner occupied, and if that bucket fills over, it'll spread equally to other and ag, if I understand it right.
Yeah, you're correct on that, Mr. Chair. So at the Cracker Barrel session on Saturday that was held here, one of the points that was made there is that there are some separate bills to create a fund in which property tax monies can go into. Currently, there's no fund that exists. So that's where part of that confusion comes from is if you had a sales tax, where would it go? Would it go into the general fund? Mm-hmm. And so, no, at the same time, they're trying to create a fund, even though the other bills may not have passed at that point in time. They're trying to create a fund, so there's a fund there to put the monies into, so it is kept separate. So it's clearly identified as money that would go to replace property tax, rather than being separate monies that go into the general fund.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Okay. Gary, I'll let you finish if you had any more. or-
I don't know if I have any more unless anybody's got any questions on particular.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
One of the things that we talked at the city-county meeting was Helene's excise capped at 9 million for the,
8 million.
right.
Yes. Okay, so there is a bill that's moving, it's moving through the legislature at this point in time with a lot of discussion. Senator Duhamel did put in the bill. And what it would do is capture some of those excise tax dollars at Ellsworth. They're anticipating, and I'm going a little bit from memory here, but I think what they're saying over the next course of the past 2 or 3 years up to like 2035, there'll be excise tax dollars in the amount of about $50 million collected for the construction, the work at Ellsworth. And what they're asking for, and this is what Rob Tim was talking about when he was here from Box Elder at the last meeting, is they're trying to capture that $8 million from that for roads in the particular area. A lot of road damage with the heavy equipment that's been operating, et cetera. It does include, I think, 1416, if I can get a nod from Joe on that, yes. Does include the 1416 area. There's just, last year the bill didn't have a cap on it. It just basically said excise tax to be used for these purposes. So this year's bill does have that cap on it of the 8 million. So they're only trying to capture a small percentage really of the total dollars for that excise tax for those purposes.
Thank you. So, Joe, did you want to add on to that? I know that you've been working with them out there we've been doing a lot of horse trading out there in Box Elder to try to help with the streets and have them actually take the highways over. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway Department. I just wanted to make one correction. I know Gary was going off of memory. So the original intent was to go after the excise tax, but they've changed that to just do a straight appropriations. So they're not going after the excise tax that model. They're just doing a straight appropriations from the state general fund to try and leave the excise tax and not muddy the waters, from what I understand from Rob Tim. That's been tried in the past, and the state kind of gets kind of weird about doing that excise tax model. So they're going after just a straight appropriations, and currently we're just waiting for when that's going to be up in committee, hopefully sometime this week or next. I know the appropriations has got a lot of stuff up in front of them here, so but I just wanted to make sure that one correction got in there. So
I knew that too, Joe. Thank you for doing that. Correct.
That all semantics, but I guess if it helps Box Elder, then I mean those roads out there are getting beat. I mean there's no way they can recover if they don't have something to help them out. So they're looking at doing $800 million worth of I don't know, almost $1 billion worth of improvements out there. And I just wanted to make a comment on the data centers. You know, there's a lot of controversy about the data centers, but what it really comes down to is the community managing, respectfully and negotiating. If a person wants to locate a data center here, they can really, the community, if they negotiate correctly, can come out on top, but you can't just give away the farm. When you start giving away sales tax and property tax, and then you got nothing. But if you negotiate with these guys to improve infrastructure and that type of stuff, and then, do not give the sales tax away. That's all I want to tell them. Do not do that. Whatever they do, don't do that. I mean, if you have somebody come to the community like that, part of the allure is to get them to pay the sales tax. So I mean, I'm hoping that.
And I think the bill that's in the legislature right now is, and there may be more than one, but I think the primary bill that's being discussed is would give up some of the sales tax, but it wouldn't give up all of it.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek.
So I inspected the data center up in Ellendale, North Dakota. That's a 430 megawatt facility. And Applied Digital is building that, and they're looking in Dual County to build another one. But I think one of the things they're looking at is they don't want to pay the sales tax on the servers, and servers have to be replaced maybe every 3-4 years. The thing about a lot of people don't know is that data center up in North Dakota this summer, they signed a 15-year lease agreement with CoreWeave. And CoreWeave is basically leasing that facility for 15 years. So if they want to sit there and they think they need some relief, why don't they just increase the rent to CoreWeave instead of asking the counties to take the brunt? So that's where I'm at on this. You know, you build your business model, but don't put it on the counties.
Don't give away every reason you want them here. Agreed. Okay. Mr. Drews, thank you very much for participating in all that stuff down there and keeping us you know, what's going on. We need to know what's going on, obviously, as it affects our constituents in the community. So we appreciate that, and hoping that we get some property tax relief for the people. I know the phone calls I've gotten and the frustration that I've gotten, and trying to help people understand the differences are, you know, we don't, you know, one that particularly came up was the conversation of ag and how it's assessed and that type of stuff. So we don't have any control of what the state decides to do on those values and that type of stuff. So our assessing office just assesses the property, and then the state has the formula that they figure out what ag pays or doesn't pay if they got cows on it, and if it's next to the city or not. That's not anything that happens here at the county. But Jerry, we're moving on here. So Jerry, is there anything that you have, sir? You didn't look like you had any committee meetings scheduled, but you usually have something to say.
Yeah, Jordan, I mean, he talked about it. We did have a discussion with the Wall Library Board a couple of weeks ago about some of the changes coming down from the Rapid City Library. And so I know that Jordan worked with the Rapid City Library getting some direct Q&A going back and forth. Cody Wiseman in our marketing just put out some information because the library boards in Wall, Keystone, and Hill City were questioning, you know, what is the new service going to be coming out of the Rapid City Library. So that was almost like getting information like the Abbott and Costello routine as to who's on first, what's on second. It was not easy, and I think there's still some questions. And so anyway, but Cody did put out some information about, you know, clarifying to the rural residents what the library utilization is going to be and to those library boards. And so I still think that there's some questions to follow up. And Jordan, just quickly, if you could.
Yeah, so the county was asked basically, can we put out some information, because there's a lot of confusion as to what Rapid City Public Library has and has not decided to do. And so I was in conversations with Terry Davis, the director of the Rapid City Public Library, and we got what we thought was appropriate information. And it still can be confusing because they are no longer doing reciprocal borrowing, but they are doing interlibrary loans. Now, those seem like they might be the same thing, but what it means is that you can't go to Wall Library or Hill City Library or Keystone Library with your Rapid City Public Library card and check out a book, and vice versa. You can't go to Rapid City Public Library and check out a book with a Hill City card. They were allowing that in the past. That's the one thing they had to stop. They weren't getting a lot of utilization out of it, so they figured we're going to just kind of stop that program. However, if Rapid City Public Library has a book that someone wants to check out in one of those community libraries, they can do an interlibrary loan to make sure that that gets sent, and they're still participating in that. So there was a lot of confusion still about that, because it's like, well, doesn't that seem like that's exactly the same thing? And it's like, it's nuanced, but they're still allowing materials to be shared throughout the Black Hills Consortium that they've got there, and even, you know, nationally, even through the state and everything like that. There was another question too as to levies, and I think I'm working with the libraries on making sure that they understand the levy. It's, you know, who pays a levy, what does that money go to, where does it sit within the county, and that kind of stuff. And I'm working with all of the libraries to make sure that they understand that, because I know levies can get confusing very quickly.
Do we have any information available on that you could share with the commission?
What do you want to know about the library levy?
Who's paying what for right now? That's
who's paying what. It does look like we've determined, and this is something that Rapid City Public Library is not ready to speak on how they're going to handle this. Box Elder should now be included. in the library, the county library levy, because currently, as of 2 years ago, I believe is what we were told, they no longer provided library services. So at that point, they no longer were exempt from the library levy, but they were never added into the county library levy. Now, what that means for residents of Box Elder, I can't exactly say just yet. We're still working through how that looks for them moving forward, because it could be a simple matter that they just end up with a contract with someone to provide those library services again, and it's all rectified. So there's tons of different ways to move forward with that.
They're going to
But that was
they're going to start paying into the levy at some point then?
they may have to, yep, for probably if they don't
Or
do
if
something.
they don't
Yeah,
contract, I got you, okay.
Exactly. If they
I
don't
got
do
you.
something,
Okay.
they-
Because I know
would be
they talked
subject to
about,
it.
they got the children's museum going in there, so, and they talked about
Right.
doing
It's
something
maybe
with
doing something
Air Force
different, yeah.
Base to get their library, so.
Yeah, and the other confusion really that we were trying to clear up is that there was confusion as to, well, then what about people within the residents within the city limits of, say, City of Wall, Town of Keystone, City of Hill City? What is the cost going to be then if they were wanting to get books from Rapid City Public Library? And it sounds like if they were trying to go to the public library, they would need a membership card with the library, but there's no specific data that we've got currently as to what they would be charged for those services.
Okay.
So there's still some gray area here we're
But
working
in
through.
our area, we're doing what we need to do by
Yes.
providing, so.
Our contracts were established to provide these services outside of municipalities that provide those services, and all of our residents are handled.
So you're basically just assisting people to try to help them figure out the red
Getting
tape.
the right information out there, because
Right.
yep, communication is key here.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, one of the other comments goes back to Box Elder. So now the Rapid City Library is aware the Box Elder residents are not subject to the library levy. Now they're questioning what service, if at all, they will receive.
I agree.
So
They should treat them like they treat anybody else outside the community that's
And
not
so-
paying, so.
moving forward, I mean, this kind of goes back to, and we'll talk about it for the 27 budget process, that my thought is I would just like to see the library levy go away, and it's just a general appropriations under our general levy. But, and the other thing that I have is that we had our Annette Brandt, our treasurer, was the first one up in the queue last Monday, a week ago, on the 1380 KOTA morning show for the first county focus, and she talked about senior assessment freezes and that type of thing, which noted by, the radio program was the fact that when we get in and talk about county stuff, unlike a city focus, the stuff that we talk about is hitting multiple counties. It's kind of all the same. So the information Annette provided was beneficial to everybody in the listening area from our surrounding counties. And so that is going to be in every other Monday, set up at 8:40 with KOTA, Steve Averman on the morning show. And so anyway, Cody Wiseman is the one that with Jordan, but Cody has kind of taken the lead, educated department heads, and getting those scheduled to talk about things that are timely moving forward, so that we have a schedule and present those. And so, and kind of tied to that, one of the things I just talked to Cody about yesterday was I'm getting some calls in my district because we've kind of stepped up enforcement and follow through on some of the nuisance complaints. And so I'm getting a couple of phone calls, and and so I appreciate the effort, but it goes back to communication. So we have a meeting scheduled this week with Cody and the planning department and code enforcement to talk about educating the public about just kind of be a good neighbor, clean up your area. These are the type of complaints we're getting. And I did get a call from one individual and complaining because he had gotten a letter about enforcement. And in the conversation, it turns out that his property is, obviously in a residential area loaded with vehicles, junk, and debris. And the comment is, your neighbors would like that cleaned up. And so when we get those complaints, we have an obligation to follow through. So, but it goes back to the PR campaign related to that. And I think that with the highway department, it would have been about a week ago or so that with the highway department on the snow removal and the vehicles in the right of way that Joe worked with Cody, and they put out a marketing effort on that to educate the public about, make sure the right of way is clear. So we'll continue to do those public education things and educate the public about how we're going to take and approach these matters. And I just think that the KOTA thing's going to turn into a really good spot for us. So
I appreciate the efforts on that, Jerry. It was such a simple but brilliant idea to do it. I mean, I'll help people understand the county's position on a lot of different things, and I think that we'll work with whoever's up next to, I mean, they get a pretty good notice ahead of time because we got to formulate the questions. Is that correct? So,
Right. So yeah, Cody's, and again, some of it, as we go through, it should be timely with kind of, just like with Annette about, getting your applications in on, freezes on your assessed value and talking about that. And so kind of timing it, like with elections and just different things that we have, coming in with county deadlines, educating the public and having the people that are actually, working in those departments to go out and communicate that information. So.
I appreciate that because I know the city has been doing it for a long time, and it's very informative. And also, I know we got election period coming up. Some of us up here are facing elections, and they're big on advertising that to get people out and people that want to get involved and understand, so that they don't look back and go, "Oh, I didn't know this happened." We want as many people in the community involved. So
right. And when Annette was up there talking about the assessment freezes, and then other stuff comes up, and so it was a question about moving to concourse and what's out here. So there was just another opportunity to let the public know that we've moved here, what offices are here, and Annette did a great job covering that. So
awesome. Well, thank you, Annette, if you're in here or not, or whatever, if you're listening. But okay, I'm going to go to Commissioner Ross Connect. Sir, you have the floor if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, 3 meetings. One was Black Hills Council of Local Governments. That's just a quarterly meeting, basically a business meeting. It was good. I've been off of that for a while, but one of the Lawrence County commissioners that used to attend quite regularly was Richard Sleep, and he passed away here recently. And I think it was just a super nice gentleman, and just wanted to point that out. Pennington County Housing Redevelopment, that was just a typical monthly business meeting. And then the city-county meeting, that was with the mayor of Box Elder, the mayor of Rapid City. I asked Jordan to come because I knew there was going to be questions I couldn't answer, and he did very well. And then we had Rod Pettigrew and myself. And so I just put 11 bullet points that I thought we needed, that I wanted to bring up. And that's kind of the roadmap that we followed. The first bullet point was TIF. And basically my question was, does the increase in the base value of a TIF generate enough tax revenue to retire the debt service over a 20-year period? Some of them, can retire in 7 or 8 years if it's a good TIF. But I think we've all agreed that there's some TIFs out there. I don't see, when you look at the dynamics of them, they don't, to me, meet the criteria of a TIF, and I don't see them where they can generate income to retire the debt service. The jail, what is the future going forward? And I talked to the sheriff, and he just said, I'll give you more details in March. He said, we're probably going to downscale what we've been looking at, and I'm just going to leave that at that. The mayor was adamant that if somebody commits a crime in Rapid City, they're going to go to jail if it's a crime that warrants going to jail. The 3-mile limit, I put better collaboration between the city and the county. And what I did is I asked, so there you got that dual jurisdiction. So I asked Brittany and Joe to write an email with their concerns. That was about a 1.5-page document, and I just handed that to the mayor, and I said, hey, we got some problems. One of the problems would be your planning process. It seems like there's a duplicate efforts there, and I think I think that's one of the concerns of our planning and zoning department. But the mayor's got their concerns, and I'll let them take it from there. Data centers, any on the drawing board, and then we talked about sales tax relief. Wind plants, they just brought to their attention that we're working on an amended comprehensive plan relative to wind plants. Director of Equalization, I brought to their attention that Shannon will be retiring in June, and that we're considering having Trevor take over Shannon's position. HR, Carol retired on the 31st of the month. I let them know that, and we're looking at a possible total restructure in that department. Annexation, where does the city plan to go in the next 10 years? And I guess we never really nailed that one down. Assessment appeals, they're going to be coming up, and the process now is that they go to the city, so it could be Wall, Box Elder, Hill City, Rapid City. They sit their council or that committee, and they make the recommendation to approve or deny the applicant's request. And there again, it's like, if you don't know real estate, you don't know what you're approving or denying. And the city would like to see that process just go straight to the county, and we have the final say. It only happens once, but that would put more burden on our Director of Equalization's office, and it would put more burden on the commissioners, because we're going to have a lot more meetings. But I still think that's something that we need to be looking at going forward to make that process better for the general public. The county's relationship with organizations such as Black Hills Council of Local Governments and South Dakota Association of County Officials, how hard do we look at the rate of return on these services when budgeting? I believe the focus should also be on building relationships and networking between the cities and the counties. Upcoming elections, what will the county administration look like in 1 year? Because we got 3 elected positions coming up. And a year from now, that landscape could be totally different thoughts, different views. So those are things that I wanted to bring to the city's attention.
Thank you, Commissioner Roskinek. And I've been in Oklahoma for visiting my grandkids, so I haven't made a lot of I didn't make the library, but they discussed that, and the Black Hills Council of Local Governments discussed there. But I have been in touch over the period of time with the city. We're working with the city very diligently to try to bring the city and the county services like this where we can. Obviously still working on the opioid committee, trying to get funding from the state. We're doing that. We're working on today, or in the next few days, we'll have a meeting with the new public works director, so to meet him and explain to him what we're doing moving forward. We're looking at opportunities. They're looking at building a new maintenance facility, and is something that we've been considering to look at with them to see if there makes sense that instead of paying rent, that we're actually involved in doing something with them. It's just a communication process to see, not only and to build relationships, like you said, Commissioner Roskinek, and then talking about, yep, we're looking at 3 positions up here that could be filled by completely different people. We don't know how that's going to go, but our commission has been working on trying to solidify that, trying to establish real strength in our commission office, so a lot of the people that come in will be spending a lot of time on policy and procedure, and we have budget conversations in place. That's why you've seen kind of how our budget process worked today when we talk about people bringing up things that, and then we say, well, this is what we do in our budget. So we budgeted for this many people to make this money, and so we're not just all of a sudden at a whim doing something. And so if new people do get elected or new people do start here or whatever, that we have a very established policies and procedures going forward. It's been rough, but man, I feel like we're hitting the curve. Maybe I'm wrong, Jordan. I said maybe we're getting on the edge of the curve now, where we're starting to come around on a lot of these things, and be able to have the commission spend a lot more time on getting to the meetings, finding out what the concerns are in the community, and bringing them back for having long-term stable positions here in the commission. So when people come and go on the commissions, because they're 4-year terms, that they come in with some level of training and understanding of how basic meetings work, but they yet still have the opportunity to bring in their ideas and their thoughts. So with that being said,
Sure.
Yes, Commissioner
Yeah,
Roskinek.
one more important event that I forgot was we did the opening of the stock show. Commissioner Hadcock did the proclamation, and I drove a goat around the arena a couple times.
You rode around the arena on a camel?
No camel, no kangaroo, just a goat.
And I'm glad you brought up the stock show. And I mean, the fair is very heavily vested in the stock show. It's a big deal for our community. When we talk about sales tax, it is one of the biggest drivers in our community for the sales tax. And you have over 300 volunteers from the community in the area that put into the stock show. I was happy to hear Ron Jeffries has said the 4-H program is busting at the seams. That means that these young people are taking an interest. So going forward, that this is going to be long-term and stable and viable. So, you know, the county sometimes around here, we live in the urban area here, we forget about what the vital importance of our agricultural production and financial stability is in our community here, and how much we rely on it. And the people that come here during these stock shows, they spend a lot of money, a lot of taxpayer dollars they input into the city. You just got to go to Menards or any of the grocery stores or restaurants in town. They're packed with people enjoying themselves at the stock show. Again, I want to thank Ron's crew and all the people that volunteered. I wish we had a list of those people so we can actually say thank you. They do it on a shoestring. I mean, I think someone mentioned return on investment. I don't know of any better project in Rapid City that has a better return on investment for the community than the stock show.
So when you talk about revenue, if I read the paper right, a steer sold for $340,000. Now, could you put that, what would a steak cost?
That's, I'm sure we're not going to be cooking those over your campfire.
Anyhow, when I get done here, I'm heading down to the stock show.
Good for you. I think I would encourage everybody to go down there. So I'll leave that when I think we're looking for a motion to go into executive session for
So move.
for personnel issues.
Second.
That would be part of the motion. So I have a motion by Ross Connect to move into executive session for personnel reasons, and a second from Commissioner Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to move to executive session. Tyler, are you Thank you, guys. We have a motion. We have a motion from Durr and a second by Ross Connect to come out of executive session. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. With a motion to adjourn
So move.
from Ross Connect. Second by Durr. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.